Are you tired of being told that you're going to have melasma for the rest of your life? Well, what if I told you it's reversible? Welcome to my channel. My name is Ariana and I'm a functional diagnostics nutritionist and I specialize in skin health and chronic conditions. So the purpose of this video is that I wanted to help people understand melasma from an internal perspective. I think it's time to change the narrative. The common belief is that once you have melasma, you're going to have it for the rest of your life, and the real only solution you have is topical management and medications to keep it at bay. Let me be the first to acknowledge that melasma is reversible. With a deep understanding of what causes and drives pigmentation, paired with the proper strategy, you can heal your skin permanently. My goal is to inform you and give you strategies so that you can feel beautiful and healthy in your skin again. Before we get started, there is a couple things that you need to take into consideration when treating melasma internally. One is that melasma can often be a multifactorial condition, meaning that it's not just one thing causing pigmentation, but likely several things that are in effect. Also, there is no one-size-fits-all treatment. And the reason is because not everybody has melasma for the exact same reasons. There might be some parallels between cases, but in reality, everybody has a different lifestyle, a different environment, and a different medical history. And those are all things that contribute to the reason why you got melasma to begin with. This is called bioindividuality. Everybody will have some variation of differences between cases. So what is melasma? Melasma is a hyperpigmentation, usually on the face, neck, or arms, that appears in a brown, gray, or bluish type of color. I like to call this condition hyperinflammatory pigmentation because it's important to highlight that systemic inflammation or chronic inflammation is really at the heart of this condition. Melasma is a symptom of something deeper going on. It's a messenger telling you that something is not right. Now, let's talk about a few misconceptions about melasma. It's often thought of that the sun alone causes melasma, but it does not. If melasma was caused only by the sun, we would see more men with melasma and we would see children with melasma. So it's actually not the sun alone that's causing melasma to arise. It's the internal inflammatory factors combined with sun exposure that's causing the pigmentation. Together, both creating inflammation are what exasperates and activates pigmentation. And let's talk a little bit about genes. I know that it's often thought of that your genes are playing a role and you may have some genetic predisposition. Well, that's also not true. And the reason is because your genes are influenced by your diet, lifestyle, and environment. All of those things are what influence your genes to turn on and off. This is called epigenetics. Even if you were to have a gene coding that might make you more susceptible to melasma, it doesn't necessarily mean that that gene will turn on and give you melasma as an outcome. But if you're combining that gene with an unhealthy diet, an unhealthy lifestyle, toxin exposure, imbalanced hormones, and gut health problems, then you're definitely going to head yourself in the wrong direction with all of that inflammation, which will actually contribute and cause the pigmentation to arise. So, do genes play a role? Possibly, but are they the cause? Not likely. So I've created the root cause pyramid to help you understand the things that are contributing to the pigmentation. I think this view of looking at it from kind of a broader perspective allows you to understand why it can be so stubborn to treat and why you need a specific strategy to heal. So the root cause pyramid, at the top we have external factors. The second tier we have secondary factors. Secondary factors are things that don't directly cause pigmentation, but participate indirectly to the process. And then we have the third tier. The third tier is the primary factors. These are direct drivers of melanogenesis, or the stimulation of pigmentation in the melanocyte. So let's start with the primary factors, and let's start with the hormonal ones because we all know that hormones play a major role in the development of melasma. So the primary hormones of melasma are going to be estrogen, testosterone or androgens, cortisol, your stress hormone, insulin, and prolactin. Those are all the hormones that can contribute to the direct stimulation of pigmentation in the skin. And then we have the non-hormonal factors. These are things like mast cell activation, nutrient deficiencies or overloads, and then we also have toxin accumulation. And now toxin accumulation is a really interesting one. And the reason is because a lot of toxins in the body can act like estrogens by binding to estrogen receptors. These are called xenoestrogens. Next, we have secondary factors. And secondary factors are things that don't directly cause pigmentation in the skin, but they participate indirectly by reinforcing the primary factors. So these are things like gut health, so dysbiosis, leaky gut, sluggish bile, and impaired detoxification pathways, immune dysfunction. Actually, chronic inflammation is a major cause of immune dysfunction, thyroid dysfunction. And I know you're probably thinking, hold on, isn't thyroid dysfunction or Hashimoto's a major cause of melasma? But let's get a few things straight here. If you have Hashimoto's, you are likely also suffering from other hormonal imbalances and possibly nutrient deficiency and impaired detox pathways. So you want to look at the immune dysregulation aspect of Hashimoto's. There's already some sense of deep immune struggle with an autoimmune disease. And then we have medications. Now, medications can be a primary cause because of their photosensitizing effects, but really when it comes down to it, medications are a secondary tier because their influence on hormone health, gut health, and liver health. And at the top of the pyramid, we have the external factors. These are anything that's caused melasma from UV exposure, photosensitizing skincare products, makeup, or laser treatments, chemical peels, anything like that that has caused your melasma to surface. So as you can see, melasma can be quite complicated. There are so many things to take into consideration when you're treating melasma. And it also makes sense why externally treating melasma isn't really going to give you the results that you want. Because if we're just treating it with topicals and medication, we're not fixing the underbelly of what's really going on. We're not targeting the chronic systemic inflammation at hand, which is the most important component to calming and getting your skin back to normal. So let's take a look at the root cause pyramid one more time before we go. So as you can see, melasma is very multifactorial. There is so many different things at play here. If we're looking at melasma from this holistic perspective, we realize that we have the primary causes of pigmentation. Then we have the secondary reinforcers of pigmentation. And then we have the external triggers of pigmentation. So you can see this is why melasma is so incredibly stubborn, and you have to have the right strategy. Now, I want to just be clear that melasma may be easier for some people to reverse than others. It really just depends on how long you've had it, how complicated your metabolic system is. Honestly, I like to think of melasma as a metabolic condition because so many different things are going on that all interact with each other. I hope that going forward, we can consider melasma as a hyperinflammatory pigmentation disorder, but also as a systemic inflammation problem. And once we start viewing it that way and the way that we approach treating it, people can finally get the results that they really want. And I truly believe that if you want to reverse this condition, you absolutely can. It just takes time, patience, and the right person to guide you on this journey. So I created the Melasma Root Cause Quiz to help people identify what's going on with their internal factors. If you want to head over to my website, it's totally free. You can take it there. You just scroll to the bottom of the page and you'll see the Melasma Root Cause Quiz. Please like and subscribe to my channel and share this video with anybody you know suffering with melasma. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm so excited that I was able to share all of this information with you. I hope you find it useful, and I hope you'll return next time for round 2 of Melasma Decoded.